Hello, everybody, and welcome to the May 2024 Differently Abled Action Team meeting. I'm Karina Ramirez. I'm CCL's Diversity and Inclusion Director, and I help facilitate this meeting until we find a action team leader. So let's go around and introduce each other. Again, I'm Karina, and I'm based in West Palm Beach, Florida. I've been part of CCL for about 7 years, and I'm glad to be able to support the team. So I'll pass it to Astrid.
Thank you much, Good. Hi, good evening. Nice to meet you. So my name is Astrid, located in Fort Myers in Florida, which is the southwest part. And I've been part of CCL for over 3 years now.
And who are you going to pass it to, Astrid?
I'll pass it to Sam.
Hello, I am Sam Cutchins. I live in Gulf Breeze, Florida, and I've lived in Florida for pretty much all my life at this point. And right now, I've been in CCL for about I would say maybe about a month and a half.
Thank
I'll pass it over to Dennis.
Thank you. Get some light on the subject. Just came in from a whirlwind afternoon of getting new tires on my car in the midst of another one of our downpours with flooding that we get from our increasingly erratic weather. So what an appropriate backdrop to coming together with you all. So all that rain has been falling in the greater Charlotte, North Carolina area. Land of the Catawba, and there have been indigenous peoples here in this neck of the woods for 10,000 years. We've got some really old archaeological sites in the area. I'm actually, as the crow flies, that away, about a half a mile from graves. Indigenous people graves going back. I don't know how old those are. And CCL probably early on in the pandemic. So we're probably working on about 4 years now for me. And I'm here identifying somebody that lives with an invisible disability.
Thank you so much for sharing, Dennis. Sometimes people choose to say what a disability is. It's not something that we ask from the team, but thank you for letting us know. Okay, so normally I start making a couple of announcements, so let me do that before we get to some of our discussion. So as you know, CCL will host this conference in this summer, next month in June. And you can still register until May 20th if you decide to make it to DC. I'm going to put that in the chat. And for everybody that is watching this recording, you have this information in our notes. Our social media, we still have an Instagram account with 209 followers. We gained 5 people since last month. And our CCL Disability Twitter/X is still at 58. But then again, I haven't used it much. I haven't shared it. Hopefully at some point I'll find someone that will want to take that over. But I try. I'm trying to hold this team as much as possible. What else? I do want to ask people about the inclusion conference, but we'll get to that in a minute. I did ask about the summer conference and the event that you cannot make it to the summer conference. If you go to the YouTube channel, June 8th to the 11th, you will be able to see some sessions live. So they do turn on the live portion. And that was just a reminder. I also put the agenda on our notes so that you can see that there. We want to congratulate Astrid. Astrid shared his profile with us. So if you look at the CCL inclusion, he is the featured volunteer spotlight for this week. For everybody watching, CCL Inclusion started about a month and a half ago asking volunteers to just let us know their story. So I've been going around to different action teams. I started with the affinity groups, basically saying, hey, do you want to tell us your story? So send me 3 pictures, send me a song that you like, and then tell us about yourself. So you're welcome to submit that to me at any point. You can send it to my email address that I will add in the notes after this meeting. We do have CCL news. We are going to have a new executive director starting in the summer. CCL made the announcement today. The new executive director will be Rachel Caresses, and we look forward, yeah, exactly. Then we look forward to meeting her and learning more about her, but that those news was told this morning. And CCL is asking 2 things, which is why I wanted to share that with you. If you want to tell her your story, you can do that. That is also in our notes. You can send her a message to just introduce yourself. And you can also join the meet and greet that we will have in July. So there's going to be a Zoom-wide meet and greet so that we get to know her. She can get to know some of the volunteers, so it would be a great opportunity for you to join it. And you can register for the meet and greet. That link is also in the agenda. Okay. Before we go into the videos for today, because I wanted to highlight Global Accessibility Awareness Day. That's actually going to be May 15th. There was a discussion about accessibility. And as you know, we try at CCL, especially in this group, to try to tie in the intersections of disability and climate as much as we can. Accessibility is usually a concern. So that is why I wanted to share 2 videos with everybody today. One of them is a disability sensitivity training. And the other one is about disability and climate. It's just a spotlight on a volunteer, a climate activist, and what their story is. So I'm going to share those videos now, and then we can have a short discussion. So let me put those on the screen. If my computer would allow it. Yeah, it will. Okay. So this is the first one.
Good morning, Bob.
Morning there, big man. Morning, Alice!
There's no need to be awkward. Poor Bob. Like so many of us, he just doesn't know how to interact with people with disabilities.
It's pretty easy, really. People with disabilities are people first.
We need the same things that every person needs, like respect.
Good morning, everyone.
Attention!
Okay. Maybe we need to be more specific.
The easiest way to show respect is to focus on the person, not the disability. It's okay. You'll get the hang of it.
One easy way to focus on the person is to watch the person signing and not their interpreter.
Or their companion.
It's really cool that you'd like to help, but do us both a favor and please ask me first. What you think might be helping? I got you. Wait, ah! Oh no, might actually not. If you'd like to offer me help, let me hold on to your elbow. Don't take mine.
Hey, would you like to take my arm?
Sure.
Assistive devices help us to live our lives. They're really important and really personal.
Grabbing them only makes it weird for everyone.
What?
Please only touch our devices and service animals if we've given you permission. And don't take it personally if I ask you not to. Remember that my service animal helps me all the time. Neither of us would like it if we were separated.
Remember, we make our own decisions. We sign documents, vote, volunteer, work, and pay taxes.
We get married.
So don't underestimate me just because I have a great smile.
Just because I'm blind.
May I help you?
Does not mean I'm deaf.
Just because I'm deaf doesn't mean I'm blind.
And just because I use a wheelchair doesn't mean that I can't sweep you off your feet.
So take a deep breath. Relax. We don't bite.
Unless we're really hungry.
Hello there, ladies. How are you?
Hello. And if you're not sure what to do, just ask.
Hi, would you still like to see a menu?
No thanks, but can you please read it to me?
Sure, definitely.
Just treat us the way you would want to be treated, and we'll all be okay.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Morning, Alice.
Morning.
Awkward no more. Nice job, Bob. Go forth and be human.
There's no need to be awkward.
I really like that video. Okay, let me share the second one, and then we'll get to having a discussion.
Nobody talks about the disabled rights to the climate crisis, and we are facing the climate crisis in every part of the world. Nepal is facing even more than that. My hometown is the western part of the Himalaya region. My village was in the middle of the forest. Being a part of indigenous community, I was always connected with the nature. But as time passes, those things are getting changed. The mountain becoming slowly dark and not smiling, and other rivers or forests are not singing like they used to sing when I was childhood. Now we are facing the huge water crisis in the rural areas. Those impacts, especially the indigenous community, and inside the indigenous also there are people with disabilities, and we are the most vulnerable people. For example, we have a heavy rainfall, then we get a sudden flood. We get early warning system, the flood is coming in your community, go to the safe place. But all those early warning system, they are not disabled friendly, because how big loud noise of a siren can be heard by the deaf person, or the text messages on your phone can be read by the blind people. And another thing is that all our infrastructure are not disabled friendly. They cannot move, they cannot take their wheelchair easily any place, anywhere. And the problem is these are also not mentioned in the policy, these are not also mentioned in the rescue plan. I just think, how can I advocate for the climate change and disability? Being a person with disability, I had never been advocate for the disabled rights, because we have so much stereotype in the Nepal. Now we are doing just few projects to sensitize the people about why the disabled community should be included in the climate discourse. We are also collaborating with NGOs, even with the local governments, how they can collaborate with disabled community to prepare the action plan. We are just doing our effort as much as we can, making the climate action more accessible, like during the meetings, bringing the language interpreter so the deaf people can also learn what is being discussed. Event like COP is a more huge event. They are not easily accessible to the disabled people. In the COP27, that were the issue I talked about. The COP28 was my third COP, and they are more disabled friendly than the previous COP. We should move together for the climate action, including all those intersecting issues. We need a collaboration between the global north and global south, so that we can break that stereotype that disabled communities don't only talk about the disabled right, they also talk about their climate. And they are not only the victim, they can also be the contributor in the climate action.
Oh, forgot to unmute myself. All right. So any thoughts about the videos that we just saw?
I loved them, yeah. Well, funny the first one and also the second with the climate that really relate to what I mentioned, that there's issues with the disability people, like there's some about negatives and well, there's some parts like you have to make sure you get into safety and you're making sure everything's and then these disasters got worse and also happened in our countries, Nepal and also in India and also in US. So yeah, to treat them equally respect, just like even when non-disability.
That's right. I saw you nodding your head a lot, or like I felt that you connected a lot with the videos. Sam or Dennis, anything you want to add?
Oh, I mean, I think it was they were both really good and highlighted that like that climate is an issue that affects everyone, right? It affects everyone, especially those who are most disadvantaged. And I also one thing I liked about the first video is the parts where it was like just because I'm deaf doesn't mean I'm blind, right? Just mean I'm blind doesn't mean I'm deaf. I kind of resonate to that because I have autism, right? I have at least a form of autism. And just because I'm autistic doesn't mean I'm stupid. And then you can see that stereotype run about that every time someone says that something, oh, this person's autistic, like they're basically saying it as a way to say that they're stupid when autism is not necessarily that.
Good point. You're right. Dennis?
Yet another reason, yet another reason that Greta Thunberg's one of my heroes. I think actually her autism is one of her superpowers that makes her more attuned to the urgency of climate change and the impact of it. One of these days in my spare time, I want to read her book and get inside of her head a little bit more. But I'm really intrigued by her witness to the world. So I'm a certified environmental educator, and the professional environmental ed group here in North Carolina just offered a certificate in I'm trying to think now. I think they just called it DEI. I don't think they called it JEDI, but it was very, very challenging, enlightening for me. They just packaged things in some different ways that really, part of it was journaling as you went through the exercises, and then there were videos and readings to kind of stimulate thought patterns. They used the trying to think what it's called now. Harvard's got assessment tools for various breaking us out of our stereotypes and attitudes and so forth and so on. And I've taken a number of those, and that in and of itself is sobering. Even as a person who identifies with disability, I suck at that one. So I'm on a journey.
That is exactly right, Dennis. We are all on a journey. But I think, that's exactly what diversity and inclusion sort of like opens up your mind, right? The fact that we are like all different communities, and we're learning about each other, but we're also learning like how to help each other and support each other, which is the purpose of, us having these meetings, right? Like when we first started, for those who are watching, a little bit of history, when we first started, the idea was that we were going to educate a lot of our CCL volunteers aren't like, okay, here are some things that disability community is facing for you to consider as you're thinking about climate solutions. That was initially the idea. And then it sort of morphed and it became something of like, okay, we also need to like support each other and understand each other. And then I remember someone at the meeting telling me, Karina, I would love to lead. There was someone that sometimes comes to this meeting to like, I would love to lead, but I don't think I can do it. Right. So then it became this thing of like, Karina, can you support us in leading these meetings? At that point, I think everybody in the room was autistic. And I'm like, I don't mind. Like, if anything, that is what I'm here to do. Right. But we still want to be in the space and we still want people to contribute. So I am happy to do that for as long as I need to, as we continue to get more people interested in the work. We can provide assistance, we can help someone co-lead, but again, this is the reason why diversity and inclusion exists to begin with. And a lot of it, coming to find when I do more work, comes from, believe it or not, the disability community. Like, it makes it very possible, like things that we use now, like the things, people that think that I'm like, oh yeah, this is closed caption was not even a thing. Like, think of how often you're using closed caption nowadays, right? But there was someone to advocate for that. But it came from making life a little bit better for someone who had hard understanding and comprehension. So closed caption was very much helpful. But again, so it's a great thing to be able to provide the space and be where we are. So anything else that we want to add before I move on to the next topic? We're okay. All right. I wanted to add one thing. So as you know, in September, this organization hosts an inclusion conference. We will have, this will be the third one, and it's virtual. We do virtual conferences because it is easier for a lot of the members of our communities to participate. But one of the things that I've been asked, and I think you would appreciate this, is they were looking for speakers and they wanted us to provide them with references. So if you had an opportunity to invite a speaker to CCL that can talk about disability, that can talk about climate, who would you want to see? So I told the team that I will ask during this meeting, and you're welcome to provide me with feedback right now, or you can send me an email later and let me know if you need to conduct some research.
Are any of you familiar with field inclusivity? It's an organization that got, I think they started sometime around the beginning of the pandemic. At least that's when it got on my radar screen. A number of the people that I was aware of early on, the leaders were, so it's basically students that are engaged in science, natural resources kinds of fields. A lot of BIPOC people and I'm going to say a growing number of LGBTQ community folk. They just did a conference of their own. What's this? This is May, so it was last fall. That was very, very well done, and a lot of the people were well, they, speaking of lived experience, I suspect with a little probing, you'd probably be able to find, if desired, you might even be able to find some folks that are working in doing graduate level research in climate related fields. Most of the ones that I saw at the conference and have otherwise run into are a lot younger than me. I mean, they're my image of a graduate or a PhD student somewhere in their 20s, 30s, maybe into their 40s when they figure out they want to go for another degree. But yeah, and some of that stuff I think was some of the presentations were recorded, so it would be a way for decision makers with CCL to go in and look and do some vetting to see if they share, you know, if they resonate at the same level that I did at that.
Dennis, what is the name of the organization again?
Field inclusivity.
Okay.
Or maybe it's field inclusive. I'll look while somebody else talks.
Okay. Anyone else?
I wish I had examples.
That is okay. I mean, we figured we asked. We usually ask all of the affinity group to provide names of people, and then inside the team we go and we inquire whether they want to come and talk to us about something. But we have time. So if you don't think of someone right now, that's okay. You can send me a message and provide a name, and we will try to ask them if they can come and join us. I put something in the chat. There's an organization called Sustainability, and it was very interesting. I think this is coming out of the United Nations. They call themselves the Sustainability, Disability, and Climate Network, which I thought was really fascinating. I didn't even know that was a thing, but I was, again, trying to look for speakers that talked about disability and climate. And I found that organization. I think they are associated with the United Nations. But you're welcome to look into it. I mean, they talk about disability and inclusive climate action, which is rare to see in the space. And maybe, from there you come across some people. The other thing that I wanted to share with everybody, I did put in our notes a disability awareness calendar, because I realized that we don't do enough in the inclusion to sort of highlight some of the commemorative days that come with the community. So I am now, keep it in mind for future things. Like, for example, this month, there's a lot. I didn't know that it was ASL Awareness Month in May, as well as mental health. Mental Health Month is one that is very much like well known inside the D&I community, but again, not a lot of disability awareness days. So I put that there, and I will try begin to highlight that every time we have a meeting. Field inclusive. Okay, Dennis, I will write that down and get to know that. Get to know them to see what we can learn from them.
They have a YouTube channel.
Oh, that is good. Okay. Okay.
I think I neglected to say when I started rambling that they're very intersectional. So I was very pleasantly surprised that they had one presenter who's a master's degree student with bipolar disorder, who was talking about finding, how to go about finding a faculty member that is aware and open and willing to make accommodations and so forth and so on. It was a very hopeful conference.
Thank you for making it aware of it. I'm like, yeah, I will do some research and see if I find some videos and bring it over here. The other thing I wanted to mention before we go into something else that I wanted to bring to the team. So last month we were named, we were spotlighted. So there is an organization called Green 2.0, and they track all of the work of diversity and inclusion across the environmental space. They made an invitation for us to share what is some of the work that we are doing at CCL. And I provided them with some information. So they actually went and created a page for us. I'm putting that in the notes as well as in the chat. And it's just kind of nice to see us in that space to be highlighted for our work. Just wanted to let you know, kind of cool. All right. So about a month and a half ago, in one of our meetings, someone said, "Hey, Karina, do you think the differently abled action team might want to help create a guide for CCLers that talk about disability inclusion?" So let me give you a little bit of background on this. So one of the challenges for CCL, in addition to us really right now not having the funding that we need in order to do the programs that we would like to support, is that there isn't a lot of information. For example, one of the challenges that we have, and this is when we go to DC, sometimes we have volunteers that use wheelchairs. Sometimes they don't have companions, so they have to find either a CCL volunteer or someone on the staff to help them. If they need, additional assistance, maybe their chair is not electric and they need someone, to push them. But we've been in places, for example, where they don't have ramps. So we actually, and I've seen this before, had volunteers carry someone in a wheelchair from one place to the other so that they could go wherever they wanted to go. So because we have seen things like that, other suggestions we have received, for example, is like, Karina, can you make the font bigger when we're doing presentations? Some people need, bigger font and being able to understand the presentation that is given to them. So as I'm coming across these different situations, somebody was like, well, can we create something for volunteers? And this will be one of those long-term projects. It wouldn't be something, I mean, it's May, the conference is next month. I don't think that we can put it together in a month, but I wanted to bring it to the team so that you can tell me what you think about that. You like that idea?
You're asking what we think about that. I think that's that has potential.
Okay. Is there anything, this is the way we created other guys before. We usually began by answering a question. Like if there was a situation that was happening over and over again, we put it together in a written format. So I would ask, for example, if any of you go to a chapter meeting and something happens in that chapter meeting that doesn't get answered, then I would want to have that particular situation as an advice, sort of like, hey, if you have a member that comes and, they reveal to you that they're a member of the disability community, what's the best way to interact? Which is why I went and looked after that video, right? Because I'm like, what is some pointers that we can give people that sometimes are not working with people in the community to make it easier for them? So I will ask you to think about that. Think of situations of places that you have experienced that you would like to tell people what to do, not to do, or something as a recommendation. And we can discuss this in the next couple of months. You can bring it back to this meeting. I will provide you with a reminder so that we can talk about it in the next couple of months. And if you also come across a guide, something that's already written, maybe we don't have to start from scratch. Maybe there is something already out there that we can just, put it as a reference for all of our volunteers. For example, one of the things that I came across, there is a national accessibility office in Congress. So if you find yourself in DC and you are meeting with your member of Congress and you need a wheelchair or you need interpretation, you can actually call that office through your member of Congress. So you can make the request through your member of Congress and they can provide you with assistance. I didn't even know that that was possible. So things like that. Okay, that is all I had in the agenda for today. Is there anything in particular you want to discuss?
Not that I can think of right now.
Okay. I would invite you, if you haven't, so the Saturday call took place last Saturday. So this organization hosts a national call the second Saturday of the month. I believe it's already available on our YouTube channel for Citizens Climate. I invite you to watch it, and I also invite you to download the action sheet for the month. So CCL is asking people to support sending a message to your member of Congress in support of a carbon price. As some of you know, that is one of our signature policies that we support. So I will remind everybody to please continue to send a message if you can to your member of Congress and support the activity for this month.
I've already sent a message, by the way.
Oh, that's good. Good job. Yes. Thank you for doing that. All
Is it
right.
my imagination, or did we get away from that and then circle back around to it?
So this is what we did. We, about a year or so ago, CCL sort of expanded its policy agenda. So we didn't move away from a carbon pricing, it's just that we added others. So we have for our, let me put this on the screen so that you can see what we're supporting. So these are our climate solutions now. So we still have a price on carbon. We're now expanding it more and talking about healthy forests. We're talking about building electrification and efficiency, clean energy reform. So we have 4. And what CCL is doing now, which I think is we're highlighting a policy every month. And everyone here can take an action that talks about that policy. I think next month we're going to focus on building electrification and efficiency, so there will be an action to that. But for this month, we are asking support for a price on carbon. Yeah, it sort of felt like CCL was moving away from it, but we're not, Dennis. All we're doing is just adding others so that people can participate in different types of climate solutions if so they choose. But a price on carbon is our signature one. It has been since the creation of this organization. Any other
There's
questions?
an example of a guide.
Oh, wow, look at that. You have one. There's a diversity toolkit.
That was part of the resource materials for that certification that I did.
Oh, really? They don't have an online format of that?
I don't know.
That would be a good thing to find out. That looks cool though.
You want to type it into the chat?
Yeah, go ahead. And then I can, do a search and I can come back with that for next month.
I noticed when I took a look at that Green 2.0 that the National Association, I'm sorry, the North American Association for Environmental Education was listed as one of their partners.
Yes. Yeah, the different types of organizations that Green 2.0 is highlighting, it's actually so interesting. Because they're pretty much looking at the entire environmental space and they're asking the question, like, how inclusive are you being? How diverse are you being? And these are some of the organizations that have been spotlighted. They do have partners, anywhere from the Hip Hop Caucus, the Sierra Club, the World Wildlife Fund, is very interesting who they are looking at. Every year, look for there. Every year they ask all these organizations to provide a survey. So we fill out a survey, basically looking at the makeup of the organization. How many people self-identify as people of color? What kind of things are you doing to be more inclusive? I think they added a disability question this year, or maybe it was the year prior, but every year they continue to expand. A couple of years back, they started adding an LGBTQ question because they realized that they were not, highlighting that community or tracking or even learning about the people that self-identify as LGBTQ that participate in this space. So it's a really good organization to follow. They have social media if you wish to learn more about them.
Quick question though.
Yeah.
Didn't we because on the agenda, right, it was there was like sort of a spotlight, I think, on for what was Ashraf? I hope I'm pronouncing that name right.
Yes.
Have we done that or
So let me put Astrid on the screen so that you can see this. Because I was going to send everybody a message to be like, hey, if you want to participate, send me your stuff and I will include you because I am the person running those spotlights.
by the way, I
So-
found an online PDF of the toolkit.
Did you really?
Yeah,
Could you-
just copy paste the name and then I just was the first if it was the first result.
Okay, fantastic. Okay, I will do that.
Yeah, here's
let me-
the link in the chat.
Yeah,
There.
I'll copy it. Okay, so this is our inclusion account. The inclusion account talks about all the different affinity teams. From time to time, we provide suggestions, we share videos, we share the word of the week. This week, word of the week, I think I'm going to deal with some portion of disability, but I started doing these things about a month and a half ago. And the idea was to spotlight a volunteer. And so I asked Astrid to participate because I sent over a message to the Asian Pacific Action Team and he volunteered with the Asian Pacific Action Team too. And Astrid responded, and this is all it is. It's just 3 pictures, anything you want to share. And then you can talk about you and what do you do? The focus of it, in addition to just talking about CCL, like, hey, you belong to the CCL chapter, it's also, you get to tell me about what you do in your local community. So these are a lot of fun. I'm enjoying them. Right now you can't read them, but if you check this account on your phone, you can actually hear a song. So that's the best, that's what I feel is the best part of the profile. Because I asked everybody to pick a song. So Astrid provided one, and then Lucy with the Asian Pacific Action Team provided a profile. Who else have we featured? We featured Sam. Sam is over at the PGM Caucus and the Climate and Environmental Justice Action Team. We featured Fernanda, who's in the Latino Action Team. She's been a long time volunteer. So it's so nice to be able to see people. So if you want to participate, again, 3 photos, what chapter you're involved in, what are you doing in your local community, and what do you want people to know about you? And I'll add all of those details in our notes. I usually send the notes with this video. And I look forward to getting your submissions if you want to participate. And send that to other people so that, we can expand the group. Yeah, I think you're welcome, Astrid. I really love the spotlights. I think they're just a lot of fun. It's a way to get to know us as different communities and for people to see the diversity, man. There's so many of us. Why not? And I want to feature people with different political thoughts and people of all ages and backgrounds. So, we're working on that and I'm keeping a list. So, the heads up for everyone. All right. Astrid is back, so I guess we're taking the screenshot again. Because Astrid is back. Okay, here we go. Ready? 1, 2, and 3. One more, 1, 2, and 3. All right. What do I do with that screenshot? I put it back in the differently abled account to say, hey, we had a meeting. It's great to see you all. But that's it. Anything else? All right. So with that, let me take a bite to everybody. Let me